Today we have the Director of Product Marketing and Enablement for Media Solutions at Akamai Technologies, an incredible digital lead, Mr. Ian Munford. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thanks for your time over the next 10 minutes, where I'm going to talk a little bit about the future. I'm going to look at a world which some of the erstwhile colleagues and commentators we've had up here before have been describing. And I'm going to look at some of the challenges that we, as an industry, as a set of organizations using the web to fulfill a digital promise. Before I do, let me just give you a quick obligatory 30-second snapshot of Akamai. We're not a brand that you would necessarily have heard of, but as the introduction said, if you've downloaded any music or streamed video or shopped online, you've probably used our service. We deliver about 30% of all web traffic, many trillions of transactions per day. And the reason why I say this is no more to give you some context of where I'm going to go with this discussion. So, in this exhibition and many of its ilk, we hear about the Internet of Things, or as Akamai describes it, the hyper-connected world. In effect, it all means the same thing. We're talking about a world where everything and everyone is effectively getting connected. And that gives us some interesting opportunities, but equally some quite interesting challenges. A key challenge, and I think it was described by Matthias in his presentation, is in effect billions of people being connected through tens of billions of devices, using countless petabytes of data, a dramatic change from where we are today. The key thing, though, is this online world, this digital world that we're creating, in effect generates enormous expectations, quite rightly. The consumer market is growing up, as we've seen in the last presentation, with a very different expectation of what their devices and their mobile connectivity or broadband connectivity or Wi-Fi connectivity will give them. Those enormous expectations really resound around sort of three key areas. Consumers absolutely expect instant performance on any device, anywhere. We publish regularly information which will help you, and feel free to go onto akamai.com to get the rounded stats, but will give you a very clear indication is if your web or digital properties do not perform, those consumers will disappear, and they will no longer be your advocate, and in effect, your competitors will survive. They absolutely expect the web to be secure, 110%. Gone are the days where every now and again we'll see a discrepancy with somebody, unfortunately, having some external data leaked. Those days are with us still, but that's not what is expected by the consumer market. And finally, the ultimate in video-based delivery at scale. So what do I mean by that? I mean broadcast quality, content being delivered over IP at scale onto any device. So these grand challenges, as we describe them, are hard. And actually, they're not capable of being fixed today. There's no single technology out there which will help you and your organizations fulfill the promise of what the expectations from the consumer market are looking for. And I'm going to focus a little bit around video because It's a subject very close to my heart. And I'm going to look at some of the challenges that face us in the next few years to come. Just want to kind of give you some context to this. So if we look at the figures, don't worry about the petabytes and so on, what that actually effectively means if you're not necessarily a technologist, but look at the growth. So in effect, and Akamai was involved in delivering both of the sporting events that you can see up there. We've seen a dramatic increase in both audience figures, in both the amount of time that people consume data online, and therefore, in effect, the amount of traffic they're shipping through the internet. Just to give you a perspective, and it was interesting, I think somebody mentioned the X factor, Matthias mentioned the X factor in his presentation. It's absolutely right. Commands premium TV audiences. When we're now seeing, however, the likes of a World Cup match equate to and equal, in effect, what a traditional TV audience will see online, then we know something is actually changing. If I put that into a bit more context, and if you think about, again, Akamai's involvement in content delivery, video delivery especially, on a global basis, roughly speaking, we're seeing a 60% CAGR growth on a year-by-year basis. And we get very excited when we hit peaks of about 26, 27 terabits per second, which, again, don't worry about the technology equation there. You can see that there's effectively a natural growth of traffic on a year-on-year basis. And again, echoing some of the points made by some of the previous speakers, it started very slowly, but it's picking up a pace. Okay, and again, based on a generational impact, we're seeing a very different type of behavior when looking and wanting to engage with entertainment. So, I'm going to proffer something for you. Future demand. You can see a time where a number of billions of viewers out there will be wanting to come home, and again, echoing the previous presentations, want to engage with some content online. Let's just look at some quality metrics here. So I've used a metric of about 10 megabit per second. To put that into context for you, it's not 4K, it's not Blu-ray, but it's better than DVD. So it's good quality content that somebody may want to watch. That gives us a bunch of traffic through the internet of about 25,000 terabits per second. If I were to kind of just show what that means based on where we are today, kind of takes the graph off the scale. In fact, actually, you can't actually see based on where we are today, where this is effectively going to end up. So the question really that we need to be thinking about, certainly my organization thinks about, is will video kill the internet? And I mean that literally. Can the internet scale to deliver against the promise of what we as digital entrepreneurs, digital evangelists, and digital businesses want to deliver to our consumer market? So let's just look very quickly at where the problem is. The internet is, I'm sure most of you are aware, actually a mishmash of connection points between different network providers, data centers, and guys who kind of run big cables under the sea. There's lots of congestion points, there's pinch points. There's been lots of challenges in the US court recently around something called net neutrality, which is around how do they not prioritize certain traffic over other traffic. But in effect, it was a means to try and deal with some of these congestion points. The reality, though, is if we look at where the problem really lies, the last mile that we talk about, the pipes going into people's homes, and actually, to an extent, some of the mobile networks and the advancements in mobile networks, the problem isn't there. In Europe today, we have many hundreds of millions of broadband connectivity, which is way over 25 megabits per second. If I look at Romania, I think over 50% of all of their broadband connectivity is over 10 megabit per second. Now this is really kind of giving us a bit of confidence, right? So this kind of great future that we're promising people can be delivered through that last mile. It doesn't quite give us the 25,000 terabits, but it's not far off. So the problem is really in the middle. It's the internet itself. If we look at some of the network providers, and there's about 100, it's not quite 100, but you know, I'm using some artistic license. They dream actually of delivering about 5 terabits per second through their networks in terms of content and data. And if you just look at the math, that's nowhere near where we need to be. Even if I was out by a factor of 10, you can see a scenario where we're going to kind of run into some problems in the not too distant future. So data centers, cloud providers in the cloud have the same challenge. There's only so much bandwidth you can shove into these data centers. And so I think my point is, in reality, what are we going to do? My assertion here is there's no one way out of this problem. We know the problem is coming, and it actually involves a number of us in this room to really work together to effectively solve it. We believe, from an Akamai perspective, if I can get this to change, that by being as pervasive, being in as many points in the internet as possible, we can get so far to actually solving some of these challenges. We've got about 170,000 servers out there in the internet. That doesn't scale. Even our own model won't scale to support where, in effect, the industry is going. We believe that the strategy for a successful future going forward is actually to move our software into devices. Today, we've got about 30 million devices out there that's running our software. This allows us to get very, very close to the consumer. The future is actually moving not just onto devices, but actually into the home, through home gateways, etc. And this allows us to do a number of different things, such as pre-positioning content, such as using various technologies like peer-assisted delivery to improve the quality of the end-user experience with video content. And by end-user experience, again, I absolutely mean effectively broadcast-based quality. So I'm out of time. I'd like to thank you for listening. If you'd like, or if anybody would like to understand a little bit more about some of the things that we're doing in terms of innovation, then we're around over the next few days. You can see we have a place outside as a sponsor, but please, we would welcome your views. We absolutely want to be working with organizations to help effectively deliver this concept for the future. Thanks very much for listening.